Shadeur Sanders had a bit of a roller coaster performance, but the Browns managed to beat the Steelers in a defensive battle. We've got that and more for you on this week's episode of the Brownie Points podcast. I'm your host, Noam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Levi.
Again, we're going to be discussing Shadeur Sanders. It's going to be a bit of a shorter episode. We're going to move straight in today with the Brownie Points segment. After that, Brownie Points is where we discuss the standout players from the game. And then we're going to finish it off with our preview segment, Browns versus the Bengals.
And we'll even talk a little bit about some of those quarterbacks playing in the college football playoff this week.
Yep, just a little bit about, who to keep an eye on and who we're liking coming to this game and what to see, because a lot of who we do like will depend on how you perform in big games. But let's kick it off with Shadeur Sanders. He's always going to be the main topic of discussion. He is the starting quarterback. What was your evaluation of Shadeur Sanders' performance?
Yeah, I no surprise here. I thought he was bad. I said that a lot, and
yes,
I continue to say that. I'll put him in a D-. He had a couple decent plays. He, as usual, had one really, really nice play. That's the kind of thing he does, usually once a game, occasionally twice. This time once. He had a couple plays in between that weren't too bad. He was pretty shifty in the pocket. It was good. He's agile. There's one that the announcers were going a little too crazy about. But, it was a decent one to Bond on third down where he threw it over. They were going a little crazy where they were like, he makes a great decision to throw it over. And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? There was nobody in front. He's running clearly open behind him. Why would he not throw it to the guy? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes these people drive me nuts in the booth. But, solid play. It's another play for Bond where, again, he's not going crazy. He's definitely settled down from some of those earlier huge plays. But he does pop up every once in a while, getting wide open and making a solid play. And considering he's not having more of those boneheaded plays at the same time, it's something to keep an eye on. He is a rookie.
Yeah. No, he has shown, again, when you look for rookies, you typically look for flashes. I think he has shown a couple flashes. It'll be interesting to see if he can develop.
And less boneheaded plays. That's really important.
Yeah, if he can develop a little bit further going forward. As far as Shadeur Sanders' performance, like you were saying, kind of a bad performance. It seemed like it was going to be a really good performance after that first half or so. He had a lot of really nice in-rhythm, mid-range throws, I thought. He had that really nice throw to Cedric Tillman, which was an excellent throw, really nice touch on that deep ball, which is something we've discussed before, when he has a little bit of time, even sometimes when he doesn't have time. But he can put some really nice touch on a deep ball and give let the receiver run under it. So those can be really nice. But the downsides in this game were just really bad. Those picks were not super favorable. Yes, he had that pick that was not really his fault. He had that tipped ball, but then at the same time he throws that one that went right between the Steelers' hands. So I think I wouldn't wipe away any picks is kind of what I'm saying. Sometimes we look at there at the end of the game, we say, yeah, he threw 2 picks, but really it was more like 1.
But if you give me an overall grade,
I think the numbers actually work out because he also had some bad throws that maybe should have been picked. So I think it worked out.
And then you're asking me about on my overall grade. The fact I'm not giving him an F is a little bit generous though, because he threw 2 picks, right? Yeah. He had one that was dropped, and then another one where the only touchdown of the game was a touchdown pass that should have probably been picked, at the very least knocked away.
Yeah, the
Steelers defender just spazzing out. I don't know what he's doing out there. He's having a grand old time chasing butterflies, but that ball is easily knocked away. That ball is picked off 90% of the time, and the other 9.9% of the time it's knocked away. And somehow that 0.1% a guy caught. Good for him.
That was lucky. That was lucky. And look, we'll say if he has a good play, we'll say he has a good play. That was not actually a good play. It was a little deceptive. If you're just watching casually, you might think that.
But
that
once
was not what was supposed to happen.
You look back at the replay and you can see, that is not good. And then later on, that duck ball cost him, right? Because Jared Judy gets picked off in front of him when he just lobs it up there and gets picked.
That one was horrific. That pick was, that one, it just made me think of Deshaun Kaiser. He would do that all the time. He would backpedal and then just launch it into the middle of the field.
And you can never lob in the NFL.
When you slow it down, right, and you rewatch it, you can see what he was thinking, right? Jerry Jeudy was open. The problem was he wasn't open enough for you to lob the ball 30 feet in the air and then have enough time for it to come down before the defender gets there. You can't just lob it up there. If he was staying in the pocket, right, standing up straight, I'm not saying that it was his fault that he wasn't.
No, I get what you're saying, yeah.
But if he was, yes, Jerry Jeudy would have been open. You just dart that ball right to him. But for that kind of a throw, you got to have nobody within 15, 20 yards of you.
Right, for that play,
you don't lob
you either nobody's within 20 yards or you're a freak. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, where they can just zip it.
Yeah.
Even though they're off balance.
It can't go this. It can't
you know what I mean? They just have ridiculous arm talent. People with ridiculous, even Cam Ward, although half the time it might be a pick because they'll just go wherever, but he has the ability to do it because they're freaks.
Yeah.
But if you're not, you just got to know where you be. Joe Burrow can't do that. He's a good quarterback, but he can't make that play.
No.
But the key is knowing what you can and cannot do. That's not his play. And then again, when you look at that touchdown and then you put it all together, and again, I saw another game where later in the game, teams figured him out and he couldn't do anything. And they started putting their eyes on the quarterback, playing to him, and they started noticing his patterns, and then balls just couldn't get anywhere. They were getting knocked down all the time, nearly picked, all over the place. He just couldn't get anything done anymore. This is not the first time we've seen it. We saw it with the Titans, and then, again, they went to prevent, but until then they did, for a long stretch that they did. We saw, Steelers, we saw it against the Bills. It took them a minute, but then they figured him out. Luckily for us, Raheem Sanders went on a whole drive where he just took them the entire way. Mm-hmm. But they weren't doing anything passing for nearly a whole half there.
And I mean, for the whole game, they scored 13 points. It wasn't like they won, yeah, but...
No, not the Bills game.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going back one. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was going through multiple games.
Okay, my bad.
But I'm saying the Bills game, they stalled. And then Raheem Sanders came in and just kind of had a great drive.
Right.
Thank God for that. But the passing offense wasn't doing anything, and the Bills do not have a good defense. So it's like, you look at these, and it's just, right now, his leap next year would have to be huge.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing is when teams get a little used to him, they are putting him away. That only gets worse over time. Teams go through an offseason. You're the starting quarterback. They look at the tape coming in. They have a game plan for you at the beginning of the offseason. They take notes. They spend a lot of time in the offseason through the whole season. And they will take little notes. And if you haven't taken a huge progressive step, they are going to deck you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is not sustainable. So, like,
yeah.
And the thing is, he would have to take a huge step, too, because, again, he doesn't have great arm talent. Mm-hmm. That means you have to take a huge step because you have to be ahead of defenses. You can't be on the same pace. You need to be ahead of them.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Here's my thing, right? So we've got one more game left in the season, right?
Yeah. 1 second. Pause. Sorry, but it was there, and I just figured this might be a good time.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's my thing. We've got one game left in the season. Is there anything, this is what I'm thinking about, is there anything that he can do in this last game that would change the Browns' draft plans? Because right now, as I can imagine, the Browns are watching the football games coming up this week thinking, who are we going to take with that first round pick? And I'm thinking, is there anything that Shadeur Sanders can do? Because, 2 games ago, I would have said, yes, there is something Shadeur Sanders can do to change the Browns' draft plans. At this point, with one game left, I don't think there is. I think if Shadeur Sanders came out next week, and I think if he threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks, I don't think that would change my mind, especially because you would have a bit of that fluky last game of the season energy. Kind of like you have that with the first game of the season where nobody knows how anybody works yet, nobody knows anyone's tendencies yet, and you end up with a lot of fluke games.
Remember Matt Flynn?
Yeah.
Do you remember when he threw for like 400 yards and he got signed by the Seahawks?
Contract, right. The last game of the season, and this is true for all sports, by the way, like NBA is the same thing. Like the last game of the season, the 4th string guy will just go for 40 points, right? This is just
especially against a bad defense in the first place.
A
team that's playing for nothing and is a bad defense.
He hasn't shown enough to this point where even if he did play really well in a legitimate way, it'd be hard for me to negate everything else that we saw. And yes, he showed progress. Yes, he improved on some things, but not enough, right? Even if he had a really good game, you'd have that reservation of how much of that was Shadeur Sanders taking another step forward and how much of that was last game of the season energy. So that's my feelings on it, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is there anything that he could do in this last game that would actually change your draft plans? Not change like what's in the back of your head and like, I'm not talking about you changing your mind from I don't care if he's even on the roster to let's just keep him on the roster or keep him in the building. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, is there anything he could do that would make you say maybe we shouldn't draft a quarterback with our first round pick?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. His best chance is free agency, 4th round picks, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to keep him in the building?
Me personally, no.
Why not?
Several reasons. Number 1, I don't think he's good, and number 2, I think he's a headache who's not good. If it wasn't for the headache, maybe keep him around, see what he does. Mm-hmm. But he's also a headache.
Well, here's the thing: who else is going to be the backup quarterback next year?
You got multiple options.
I feel like
you could either go with Dylan, number 1, or number 2, you could pick up anybody in free agency. You could pick up somebody in the late round picks in the draft.
I would like to see.
Nothing Shadeur's done has excited me. So
but he has shown flashes.
I'd say nothing, but so little.
He's shown enough flashes to me that I'd be curious to see like if he could like be a really legitimate backup, next year if somebody goes down. My feeling, if I was the GM, this is what I would do. I would keep him in the building. I would keep Dylan Gabriel in the building. Obviously, I'm going to draft a quarterback with my first round pick, and then I'm going to pick up a veteran in the offseason because you're going to want a veteran for your first round pick anyways. Pick up a veteran in the offseason, Have those 4 guys battle it out, and obviously chances are you're going to keep the veteran. You're going to keep the quarterback you draft first overall, whatever it is, right? Your first overall pick. And then you either let go Shadeur or Dillon Gabriel. But that's what I would like to see. I would love to see a 4-way battle, but keep them in the building. Because I have seen some flashes I would be curious to see. But more importantly from Shadeur, it's not just that I saw flashes, which is why I want to keep him in the building. I would like to keep him in the building because I did see improvement. There hasn't been enough positives for me, like I said, to change any plans. I just don't think he's got enough. But he did show some improvement, and so it makes me wonder, hey, let's see what he could do with a little bit more time. Because he does have some of those intangibles which are really difficult to come by. Things like staying really calm in the pocket, staying calm in pressure-packed situations. There are a lot of really talented quarterbacks that keep their team from truly being successful or making deep playoff runs because they don't have that one intangible. And him having that one thing might seem small, but to me, that could prove to be invaluable if he's able to continue to develop his other skills and his ability to go through his progressions and read NFL defenses. But like I said, I'm not saying change your first round pick plans. I'm just saying I would keep him in the building.
So that's
what I'm saying.
I would say
let him compete, keep him in the building, maybe cut him if he doesn't show up enough in the training camp next year.
So I would say is number 1, I think they're probably going to trade Dillon. That's my opinion.
But what could they get for Dillon Gabriel? No offense to Dillon Gabriel.
Nothing crazy, but teams go for 6th, 7th rounders all the time, especially late in camp.
Is that worth it to you?
Someone gets
injured.
a
6th or 7th for him? I don't know.
But I'm saying that's probably what will happen. I'm not saying what I think. I see it all the time. People come in, and at this point, the GM just figures you probably need somewhere new to go to have any success anyway, because you're just kind of such a rough year.
Yeah.
And then, and so someone gets injured, because usually someone does, and then they just go for a low pick, and they move on. And Barry, if he is around, we'll see. Well, if he is, he loves all the picks. Every pick he can get, he loves.
Yes.
He treats 7th round picks like they're potential, like they're 1,000-yard receivers.
I know, and he's never done anything with
I'm just saying he loves picks. So
and then I get it too because
I'm saying what I think will happen.
No, I know.
Not what I would do.
And that's
if it was me, I'm getting rid of Shadeur. I don't like him, and I think he's a huge headache, and I think he's a problem not just with fans and the pressure he puts on a young quarterback because there are people who just Shadeur fans.
Yeah.
And they're crazy. Okay? So not only does it put pressure on a quarterback, but also I think it puts a negative pressure in the locker room. I think he's a certain aura about him, and something comes from his father that a lot of people want him to be good, and a lot of people glom onto him in the locker room. But I also think he's not good, and so I think it creates friction.
Right.
I think he has that kind of personality where it creates friction in the locker room when he clearly shouldn't be the option. And don't forget, Alabama, people went nuts when they were trying to play Ty Simpson over was it Jalen Hurts?
Mm-hmm.
Was it?
No.
Jalen
Hurts was a long time
Not
ago.
Jalen Hurts. I'm so sorry. What's his name?
I just don't remember what you're talking about.
He got drafted by the Seahawks in the 3rd round. Jalen Milroe.
Oh, right.
And he's way better than Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe's terrible.
Yeah.
And if Ty Simpson actually got in a year last year to actually progress, who knows who he could have been this year? Because you already saw a lot of great flashes from him this year. Imagine if he actually had a year to grow. And the team was throwing a temper tantrum. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's our guy. And don't get me wrong, they like him. That's wonderful. Good for Milroe. I'm sure he's a wonderful fellow, but he sucks. Mm-hmm. Simpson is real talent.
Yeah.
Not always is it good. Locker room players sometimes stick to guys who just aren't the right option because they follow leaders, but leaders aren't always actually good. Just unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah.
Jordan Poyer, for example, is a phenomenal leader. He's a good safety, but even later in his career, he's still a great leader. Not always the starting safety, though, because he's not actually that good anymore. Mm-hmm. Whatever. A bit of a digression. Point being, I see him as way more of a distraction on the negative than I see the potential for positive.
Right.
Therefore, just risk-reward basis, I would move him. At that point, you can make your decisions. I think it partially depends who comes along. If you see a good opportunity in free agency.
Yeah.
Personally, I would love to bring on Sam Howell. I've always liked Sam Howell. I think everybody knows that. I mentioned it a few times. Some people know it. I think he'd be a great opportunity to bring him in for cheap. And I think he has some interesting upside. I would like to see him actually play for a bit. And I don't think you want to start your young guy anyway right away. So my thought process would be bring him in, super low risk, high reward. I think he has a lot higher ceiling than Shadeur does. Mm-hmm. I've seen him on the field. I've seen him throw for nearly 4,000 yards as a first-year starter. I have a lot more faith in him.
Not enough positives to outweigh the headache that he has, and also you think there are better...
low-risk, high-reward guys.
Better other low-risk, high-reward
guys
here's the thing,
out there. If Sam Howell doesn't play that well, and we move on to the rookie, is there going to be a riot?
No.
That's
a good point. Look, I think that's all fair. I think I still feel that I would still just keep him in the building, let him compete, but I think what you're saying is definitely fair. But a lot of the discussion, again, is about we're still saying he's going to be either way as a backup for sure, no matter what, to whoever they draft with that first-round pick. We've got a lot of big games coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
The college football playoff. This is a great opportunity. I mean, the expanded playoff, I think, has been fun. I've enjoyed it. But it's been especially good, I think, for evaluators because you get this succession of big, high-pressure games that gives you a different chance to evaluate these guys. Where previously you'd get one game in the BCS era, but then you got 2 games. But now you get like a good 3-4 games for some of these guys.
Potentially, depending how good they do. But.
Sure, but you get at least 2 to 4 games, right? Where you can evaluate them and see them in a high-pressure situation. Who are the quarterbacks that you think Browns fans should be keeping an eye out? Guys that might be available around where the Browns are picking, because we don't know exactly where they are. The Browns will have an extra first-round pick from the Jags. They might potentially move up in the draft, although it's unlikely. But who are you keeping an eye on?
So I think there's 2 tiers. There's tier 2, which is 2 guys that are not coming out this year, but as Browns fans, I think we are well aware that you might have to keep out for more than 1 year.
Sure.
So those 2 guys are
unfortunately, that's true.
and so the lowest is going to be Julian Sane.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being, he's very unlikely to come out this year. Like, very unlikely to come out this year. I really like him. His arm strength is good.
Is he even eligible?
Yeah, I think
this
he is.
year.
I
Julian
think so.
Sane?
Is he?
Isn't he a freshman?
I thought he's a redshirt sophomore.
We can look
Is he a
that up
redshirt
later.
freshman?
Either way, he's not coming out.
He might be
this
redshirt
year.
freshman.
Everyone knows.
Anyway, he's not coming out this year. He might need 1 more year. But regardless, I like him. He's got a very good arm, not a great arm, but a good arm. So it's good enough. He doesn't have that rocket, but it's a good arm. He actually can make some reads. He can make some plays. There's a little bit of growth there. Definitely you've seen at times, particularly in this past championship game. Not surprising, but let's keep an eye on him. Let's see how he progresses from that game, right? Like, what steps does he take?
Good time.
I think it's something to keep an eye on. And hey, we're watching Ohio State anyway.
Right.
Next, you've got Moore from Oregon. Mm-hmm. And look, he can come out this year. So he said he's going to come out next year. But if they go off on a run, Dante Moore, right? He might say, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to come out this year. I've got all this hype. Yeah. So somebody keep an eye on. Personally, me, I don't love him. I think he runs a super, super simple RPO offense. And it's not his first year in college, and it's a really simple offense. Indiana had him figured out. They had him beat easy. Like, they weren't doing a lot. And at times, I feel like they have not played great.
Yeah.
I don't love Dante Moore. I think he has some physical talent, but I think he has not really progressed. It's like, yeah, somebody might teach him in the league, but it's like a big question mark. So, we'll discuss about him. And then there's Carson Beck. So Carson Beck
is still in your tier 2?
Yes, top of the tier 2. The reason why he's top of the tier 2 is because he is coming out this year. But he's in tier 2 because I'm not super hyped about him. He's playing for Miami. He's going to play Ohio State. We're watching Ohio State anyway. He's had some good stretches this year, but it's felt like the moment he's gotten pressure, he's played very poorly.
Not a good sign.
Just not a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played at Georgia, so he's played in big games.
Right.
It's not mental pressure that's the issue, at least in terms of like a big stage.
Right.
But it seems like physical pressure, and he falls apart a bit. So we'll get a really good look at him playing Ohio State. Got a very good defensive line. They've got some phenomenal players like Arvo Reese, obviously, as everybody's heard of, and Caden Curry, who I love. He's one of my favorites. And so they're going to give him some pressure. So you get to see a little bit. And if he shows up and he's like, hey, it's a big moment, maybe he's better in big games than he is not in big games. He's played really well at Georgia. And, they had championships. Maybe he's better in big games, even with pressure in his face, So it's something to keep an eye out on, and like maybe he's that guy. And if he is that guy, that's something to consider then.
Sure. But still in tier 2.
But tier 2, because I think I've seen enough to be more than skeptical. But keep an eye on him this week.
How about tier 1?
And then tier 1, we got 2 quarterbacks and they're playing each other.
Okay,
so you got Francisco Mendoza.
So you got 1 game to watch. According to expertise. Right? You got 1 game to watch. All right.
I could grow a fro and I would get a contract with NFL Network. But so you got Mendoza, which is no secret. I think everybody kind of knows Mendoza. I mean, he won the Heisman. He's not a secret.
Yeah.
And he's really interesting because he's one of the very few prospects in the last 5 years I can think of that comes in, and I think the number one thing about him is his processing. Without him being significantly terrible.
He looked good. He looked really good against Ohio State.
Right, without him having like a huge downgrade physically.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a physical freak, but he's good physically.
Yeah.
Where I'm saying some guys would be like, oh, I like him, but he's a 5th round pick. Why? Because he has nothing going on physically.
Yeah.
Like, no, he is physically there, and he's also...
The good processors often to overcome the fact that they can't...
Yeah.
It's kind of like with like NBA prospects. You're like, why is the athletic freak never able to shoot? It's because like they didn't have to.
But Mendoza was a very low tier recruit. He was like 2-star, I believe.
Yeah.
So he came in, but he's developed a little bit. He might not be super athletic, but he's got a good arm.
Seems like he's a very good work ethic.
And he's athletic enough. He's mobile enough. He's mobile. He's not athletic, but he's mobile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is fine.
That's all you need.
That's all you really need. And he's got a good arm. He can make reads. That's crazy. That doesn't really happen anymore.
Mm-hmm. But he's going to go number one.
He's going to go number one.
That's the biggest problem for the Browns. And the Browns obviously have 4 wins now. We'll see if they win the last game of the season. But even if they don't, 4 wins is never going to get you the number one pick. So, it seems unlikely. But either way, you like
the most interesting one. I love Mendoza. I like Mendoza a lot. The most interesting guy is Alabama's quarterback, Ty Simpson.
Right.
So he's somebody.
And again, these guys are playing against each other this weekend. Right?
Yes.
Is this weekend?
Yes, they're playing against each other. Right. And this is a big test for Ty because Indiana was the number 2 defense all year. Ohio State. This is a very good defense. Yeah. Ty Simpson had a great stretch in the middle of the year when they beat teams like Vanderbilt and Georgia, and he looked awesome.
Yeah.
And then he had a down stretch. And look, he's a first-year starter. It does happen. But then he came back and he won the first game of the playoffs. Yeah. Right? Showed some oomph. Showed some of that, swagger a little bit. Sure. That's a really good sign in a big game that he's stepping up. So now he's got a bigger stage. He's playing a really tough team. Who is he? Because earlier in the year, he was carrying that Alabama team. To be fair, he was asked as a first-year starter to carry them. The defense wasn't playing that great in a lot of those games, and he had to make a lot of huge plays. So he's got big talent. He's got big abilities. He can really throw on the move. He can throw a beautiful spiral downfield. So he's got that upside that really intrigues you. Mm-hmm. Definitely has a little work to do, but I'd love to see what he does this week. If he can come out there and have a really good performance, I think the Browns should seriously consider taking him because I don't think he'll go number 1, but I think his stock has gone on a little more than it should.
Right.
Considering that he is a first-year starter, and I think it could be available more towards the bottom of the top 10, somewhere the Browns could still snag him.
Right.
And then you can go get somebody to be a bridge quarterback, give him a breather for a minute, develop him a little bit. If you be a touch patient, he has the upside that is not common for a guy that you can get at the bottom of the top 10. And with quarterbacks, typically, if you have that kind of upside, you're going top 3 because usually those guys have been starting for multiple seasons.
Yeah. And often, you never know what will happen because in that draft process, sometimes these guys, it just rise quick. Like Josh Allen was a quick riser.
That's true. But he's a physical anomaly.
No, I know.
He's not just good. He was a physical.
I'm just saying
freak of nature.
Sometimes these guys just all of a sudden fly. These guys are expected to be
late he could fly, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they go in the top 5 or
so they are going to want to build somebody up.
I'm just saying is that there's that possibility that somebody else a little bit further down.
But it might be Lenore Sellers.
Right, could move
from
up.
South Carolina because he's a physical freak.
Bump down Ty Simpson. Unlikely to bump down Mendoza, but bump down some guys that we do like.
I'm guessing it's going to be Lenore Sellers. So, by the way, stay away from him. Browns fans, I'm going to tell you this right now. He will get hyped. Mm-hmm. He will get some serious hype. And people will go look at his highlight tape, which is good. And people will hype up Lenore Sellers. I promise you it's going to happen. He's got a good... Remember Malik Willis got some hype.
Yeah.
He's got a big arm. He's really athletic. He's got this excitement. But watch him play for a couple of snaps. He is not good. He's really not good. Do not fall for that. Okay, Josh Allen, he's wonderful. But he's an anomaly. He's the exception to the rule. He's not how it typically works. There's been a lot of evidence since then to show that typically does not work. Lenore Sellers is not going to work. So watch out, but he'll get hype. He will get hype. He will go top 15.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And also, again, like you said,
but Simpson's the guy to watch.
Keep an eye out for that game. Yeah, Alabama versus Indiana. Obviously for the Browns. Hopefully we can get Mendoza, but unlikely. But Ty Simpson, keep an eye on him in that game. We're going to roll into now our Brownie Point segment. We're going to bring it back to this most recent game. We're going to do the Brownie Point segment. If you're a first-time listener, that's where we award Brownie Points to standout players on offense and defense. We give out 3, 2, and 1. The more you get, the better we thought you performed. In this game, neither of us really felt like there was a 3 Brownie Point performer. Not to say that the team did not play well, but this is an individual award. Obviously, the defense held the Steelers to 6 points. They were unbelievable in that game, that defense. Absolutely dominant. Shut down the Steelers. However, again, this is an individual award that we give out, and there wasn't somebody necessarily we felt like at 3, but at number 2, we did feel like Denzel Ward was worthy of that. Denzel Ward falls into that category of cornerback where sometimes it's tricky when you're watching the game to evaluate him because he's so good. A lot of times they just avoid throwing to him, so you forget about him, and that's a good thing.
But that's why we like to give him. Yeah.
But I'm just saying is that when you're watching and you see a cornerback, his name come up a bunch of times on TV and he's making great plays. That's awesome. But there's this other tier where you actually never show up on TV, and it's because you're so dominant, nobody bothers throwing to your guy. Or it's
which is why we like to mention him whenever the secondary as a whole does well. Right? Whenever it's a secondary did well, we often like to bring up Denzel Ward at that point because of those reasons.
Exactly. And he did have that nice play towards the end of the game just to seal it. So Denzel Ward felt fitting it at 2 Brownie Points. Maybe could have gotten 3, but 2 brownie points is where we had him. And then at 1 brownie point, who did we have at 1 brownie point?
So
Carson Schlesinger, I believe
we were
it
thinking of
was.
Schlesinger, but I'm leaning towards Alex Wright.
Why so?
Because he had a couple big plays, standout
Not
plays.
because you didn't feel like Carson Schlesinger had a bad game or anything. You just feel like
No, I like
you're just
Schlesinger.
edging him out a little bit.
But you know what? Wright did have a couple splash plays.
Yeah, especially that play, again, where he stopped the run, where he came around. He just showed excellent pursuit and burst. Because he had that initial grab, kind of missed him, but then didn't give up. Stayed on top of it and just made the extra last leaping and grabbed him from behind. And, of course, he had that sack that everyone in the audience thought was Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he had a solid game. He's had a decent season overall. He's kind of been flashing here and there. But at the end of the day, he's also a rotational player. So,
I mean,
you can't
in
really
reality,
expect him to pick up 10
he really
sacks
should
in
be
a
your
season.
third defensive end. He's not really your second defensive end.
Yeah, probably. But we'll see what happens in the offseason, the draft. They might pick up another guy. But, and we'll see also how Mason Graham develops because he could potentially.
We'll see who our
if he
GM
continues to
is.
develop. He could bring enough gravity that between him in the middle and then Myles Garrett on one side.
That's true. I mean, Mason
Alex
Graham
Wright
has
could
been
do.
out for a bit, so
Yeah,
let's keep that in mind.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. For me, I think I'm still going to stick with Carson Schlesinger.
But also, you never know what can happen, right?
Because
Because like
injury, though, I just want to give him like a little bit extra.
if they clean
credit.
house and you get a different defensive coordinator in there, you could also start playing a 3-4 defense. Because they might be like, Miles so good on the inside. Well, we'll just take 3 great defensive tackles, essentially, with Miles out there as a freak, and just go to outside linebackers, if that's kind of what I'm just saying
You
hypothetically.
never know what's going to happen. Yeah, because with a season like this, coming off a season like we had last year, anything's on the table as far as what the front office is going to look like next year. Everyone could be gone. It could be Barry, it could be Jim Schwartz, it could be Tommy Reese, it could be Kevin Stefanski. They could all be gone. I could also see them all still being here next year, but I could also see every single one of them being gone.
I think it's one or all, right?
And
Like if either Barry or Stefanski goes, I think both of them are
regimes tend to go.
I don't
as
think
a
it's one or
whole.
the other.
And the only scenarios where like the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach don't all 3 go together. The only times that doesn't happen is if the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator get promoted to head coach, which I don't necessarily think is going to happen with this particular situation. Again, we'll see what happens next year. That'll be interesting. Before we start getting to next year, that's something we'll talk about probably more in the offseason or after next week's game. But I want to look ahead to next week's game. Browns are playing the Bengals. It's the last week of the season. How much do the Bengals have to play for? How much do the Browns have to play for? I don't know. But sometimes in the NFL, these guys are professional athletes. And I think that's important to remember. They do have pride. And just because you don't have something to play for does not mean they're going out there and not trying. They might not be their best, but that doesn't mean they're just going to go out there and half-ass it. Okay? The Browns had nothing to play for against the Steelers, and the Steelers had everything to play for, clinch the division, and obviously guarantee that spot in the playoffs. They had everything to play for. The Browns had nothing to play for. The Browns still won that game.
But the Browns had something to play for. They played for being a spoiler. That'd be the same thing.
Right.
But you're playing for something. Like, you hate the Steelers. You play them year in, year out. Here's an opportunity
That's a pride thing.
to knock
me,
them in
right?
the face.
But that's a pride thing. Like, the fact that you care about that enough to go out and have that kind of performance,
Right.
to me, that's about pride, right? That's
Pride
what I'm trying to say.
and
It's like,
hatred.
These guys are professional athletes. A lot of they have ways of
an
finding
extent.
reasons to try hard because even when you put all that aside of the season, a lot of them are still competing. They're trying to get contracts. They're trying to put film on tape. They're trying to get awards. There's different things for them to play for that go
I mean,
beyond.
Miles is playing for something.
Yeah. But
Miles playing for a record.
yeah. And I would venture to say his teammates on the defensive line want him to get that record and are also pushing hard and trying to help him out there. I'm just saying, the defense did not look like a team that was interested in not trying. So we'll see what happens coming into this week. What do you expect to happen, though? Like, do you think that's going to continue?
Well, Chase Brown's been playing well. And I got to say, I think our run defense still didn't look great last week. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
Sure.
He's been playing well. I don't know if he's going to gouge us all in the run game. It might be a lot out of the backfield, too. Just his style. But he's played pretty well at that. And I do get the feeling that Chase Brown will give us some issues. I don't know who's going to start for them. Because Joe Burrow's had so many injuries, they might not play him in the last week.
What's the point? Yeah.
So it's like, it's a little hard. You know, the last week is so hard to give any kind of prediction to.
It doesn't necessarily mean
I'm
anything
guessing
anyway.
Fannon's not going to play just because his last week of the year, he's had such a great year. He's coming off an injury. They're probably going to be like, if it's questionable at all, even the tiniest bit, they're probably going to be like, yeah, why even bother, right? Like, it's not like you're trying to figure out who Fannon is.
Right.
We've all seen it.
That's why we
love
said
him.
it's going to be hard to evaluate Shadeur no matter what he does in this game because the Bengals are making similar decisions with their team. Like a lot of guys that are on the fence, they're like, just don't play. Yeah, just don't play. It won't be the same. It does make it difficult to evaluate or to predict what's going to happen. Not to say that
I do think Raheem Sanders is going to have a good game. Raheem Sanders has played solid, and then at the same time, he's going to have a lot to play for. against a weak Bengals defense, I'm guessing he's going to have some big runs. They call him Rocket Sanders. Boom, boom.
There's one more angle to this, by the way.
Two Sanders in the backfield. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
The S to the power of 2. Sorry.
He's been interesting. I'm curious to see what he does in this game. But there's actually another angle to this.
He might be the backup
in
next
this last
year.
game of the season.
He might make the roster next year.
No, he really might.
He's actually played pretty well. I like him.
Separately, just depending on how this team feels about Kevin Stefanski, this might be we are trying to save our coach's job game for them.
It's like, do you lose the locker room in the last week?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, they might go out there and push a little bit harder because they want, hey, look, they can at least go into the offseason saying, like, look, we won the last 2 games. Our roster is terrible. Or our roster is not terrible. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. The offense is terrible. The offensive roster.
My hot take is, I think in the second half of the game, they should let Dylan play.
That is a hot take. I disagree, actually. I think there's no point. I don't think there's anything we're going to learn from it.
No. Not for you, for him. Because they've done this as a franchise. This has been part of their strategy, is to sometimes do things for players. They've done this with OBJ, for example. Mm-hmm. They've done this a few times where they'll be like, oh, well, we'll listen to you. We'll like try to do something nice for you on the way out. I think they should let him put up tape. I don't think there's much to gain from Shadeur either.
He didn't get tape in those 5 games he started?
He got some, but it was also, like, brutal. Also, like, the offensive line was falling apart. They've done a lot better the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Do you think some of that has to do with Shadeur Sanders' like pocket management and ability to escape?
No, not really.
Because I do feel like he has made the offensive line look a little better on occasion.
Maybe at times,
he's done a decent job.
There were way too many plays when Dylan was in there where he did not even get a count of 3. Like, it was not 1, 2, and then done. Like, with Shadeur, I've consistently seen 1, 2, 3, and then maybe. But that 1 extra second in the NFL is a huge deal. Number 2, every time they played a bad defense, it was like bad weather.
Do you think they will? Do you think they will?
The defense would do really well. And I don't think he'd do amazing, but I think he deserves just like a little bit of time. It'd be nice to go play a bad defense on a day and just have a little bit of a breather.
Do you think they will do that, or is that just what you'd like to see?
No, I don't think they will.
Okay.
I think it would be a good thing to do as a franchise. And secondly, if you do think about trading him, having a nice showing in your last bit might give him a touch of value. I'm not saying he'll suddenly go for a 3rd-round pick, but if you're trying to get a 6th-round pick out of him, it could maybe help.
Perhaps, yeah.
Whereas I don't think the extra half from Shadeur is going to really help you that much.
Sure. Do you have a score prediction?
Yeah. Oh, man.
For me, I actually think
this game, that's basically impossible
I think the Browns are going to win this game because I think the Bengals locker room is just a completely different situation. The Bengals know that injuries screwed them this season. The Bengals know that, like, I think the Bengals have a feeling in the locker room that next year they're going to be better, next year will be fine. I think they just want to be over with the season. Again, they're professionals. I'm sure they're going to try. I'm sure they're going to try to win this game. But I think the Browns, that defense is dominant. And they do have something to play for. Again, beyond just having some pride and whatever. Like, Myles Garrett's trying to break a record. He is going to, and this is his last chance to do it. He is going to do everything he can. And even if he doesn't get those sacks, as you saw against the Steelers, even though he didn't get the sack, they were double and triple teaming him. The whole game plan basically revolved around playing away from Myles Garrett because they were so terrified of his ability to beat his man.
Don't forget, though, the Steelers were missing DK Metcalf.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, I'm expecting that to happen against the Bengals. I think the Browns defense is going to dominate the Bengals. I think the Browns are going to win this game. I'm trying to think the exact score line, but I think the Browns are going to win this game 19-10.
I think that we got a bit of a break, but the defense did not look good the previous couple of weeks. I think, no, look, they might come in there and say, guess what? Guess who's not playing? Chase and Higgins. And then, my prediction's up in the air. So take it with a grain of salt.
I think there will be somebody who doesn't play.
But assuming for a minute that Chase and Higgins play, I think they do give us problems. I think Chase Brown then has the ability to keep giving us problems because of Chase and Higgins. And then
they didn't get that many yards when they played the Browns last.
No.
Just worth noting.
It's worth noting. It's a possibility. I'm putting on my prediction. I also don't think the Browns are going to try as hard. I think Myles Garrett will as an individual, but I don't think it's the same thing. And then I think they'll have some big plays on offense. I think they'll get more than 10 points. The Bengals defense is terrible. But at the same time, I still see Shadeur making a few mistakes. Like, he can't help himself. He makes a few mistakes every week. And so I see them winning like 34-31.
The Browns.
No, the Bengals.
Oh, so you think it's going to be a high-scoring game?
I think
it's going to be low-scoring because I just don't think there's enough talent on the Browns offense, and I just think that the Bengals are probably going to sit somebody, and the defense from the Browns.
And that might be like that's the part that's like very
and I also think the Browns defense is going to play well, though. So that's another factor to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Either way, it's probably going to be a lot of off-season discussion, and I guess hopefully they win. I don't really care, honestly. To be honest, it doesn't really matter at this point. I always want them to win, but there's not that much of a big picture. It's not going to change really anything at all, but it'll definitely be fun to see how they play. Hopefully they get that win. Hopefully Myles Garrett.
Hey, go Buckeyes on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, hopefully Myles Garrett can break that record. We will see you next week.